Good morning, everyone. Dancing and swaying our way
I
yet into another morning with Trevor over here. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. I have the Kermit going again this morning. Green for Saudi Arabia, if you will.
oh,
And for Saudi Arabia with the green hats is
yeah,
Trevor. Trevor, what's up, man?
not too much. Early mornings these days.
I was gonna say you are one of the brave souls. I was gonna start with yesterday, but you were one of the brave souls. I didn't honestly. I figured I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna see a bunch of messages and all that kind of stuff in the Discord channel from the game this morning. But there was no way in hell I was getting up for that one at 4 in the morning. So more power to you. And I guess it was well worth it because upset is always kind of like fun to watch.
Yeah,
Regardless
yeah,
of who it
Alan, I put him
happens
back.
to.
I put him back.
Oh yes, Alan is. See, Alan is a happy man this morning. Now that we teed the tins back, that must have been some chore. You're like, oh, I gotta put the tins back.
Yeah,
So,
30 seconds of hard labor.
but for what is the problem?
At what cost?
So you get up 4 in the morning. More power to you. So I guess tell us a lot more about the game because I kind of know the score. I heard the penalty was kind of controversial for Argentina. I find it funny that in the morning you see the social media posts and you can see when the post was made because the really early ones that are soccer related are always like it's Messi's World Cup, it's the last World Cup, Messi, blah blah blah, and then Messi scores, who else, blah blah blah, and then somehow the posts stop for the most part from all those
Oh
channels,
yeah,
which kind of aggravates me because they're supposed to be like unbiased. It's not like I'm following like Argentina accounts. These are just like regular soccer accounts, and there's like a huge gap, and then they like get over the shock and then start posting about Saudi Arabia winning and stuff. So tell us about the game.
so it was everything. It felt as if they were actually playing at 5 a.m. their time. It was that sloppy. That it was a lot. I had never seen that many Argentinian misplaced passes in my entire life. No, nobody could get anything together. It was so just chaotic. And yes, I agree that the penalty that was awarded was very soft, and they kept harping on and harping on and harping on. Like in the England game, they waved that away. In this game, they waved that away, and it's just like you got to just let it go. There's the
Just
officiating in
move
this
on.
tournament has been just off the rails, but the commentating has been even more off the rails. And when these officiating decisions do come down, they just cannot help themselves and just drone on about it for like 20 minutes, and it's nauseating. And you're trying to just going, all right, we're past this. They're up 1-0. Saudi Arabia is playing well, and there's a lot going on in this game that you could be talking about instead of just being stuck on 20 minutes ago. Let's just go.
Let's move
And
on, people. Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's I don't know. We were talking about this on the podcast a lot yesterday about broadcasting and the state of broadcasting, if you will, especially commentary for live matches. And it feels like they gotta fill airtime, or they feel like they should fill airtime. There shouldn't be any silence. So and when you talk nonstop and force yourself to talk a lot, obviously you're gonna say a lot of stupid shit. So, which is what usually ends up happening. So, I mean, looking at the stats, obviously looks like Argentina dominated possession, more chances and stuff like that. But how did the game feel? I mean, is this like a truly I mean, obviously an upset on paper, but is it kind of like totally against the flow of the game, or it's just that this is how Saudi Arabia was planning to play all along, just sit back and counter?
no, I truly think Saudi Arabia deserved this win. The way they defended, the way they were able to hold their offside trap and not really fold with that strategy, it really forced Argentina to try new things, and just none of them worked. And both their goals came on good spells of possession and a good shot. There was nothing really fluky about it, as much as they want to say the first one took a deflection. He got it through the guy's legs and got it to the far post. I don't care.
Are we getting some really messy biased commentary, by the way?
It was one of those things where every time he touched the ball, like JP Telecamera, it sounded like he was going up 3 octaves, and you just when he didn't. There was a free kick at one point that was kind of, I'd say, suspect, and they were making it seem as if there was no way Messi from like 26 yards was not going to bury this free kick, and then he bricked it, obviously, with the way the game ended. So and there was like a collective sigh going like, oh.
We had all these things we wanted to say.
And granted, yeah, Saudi Arabia, we not the best human rights record. We've discussed them quite a bit on this show, but this is like an upset story. This is one of like the top 5 upsets in the tournament ever at any stage, and they're sitting there just going, "Well, oh, Argentina," and it was just one of those things where you had that narrative just sitting there for you of this massive upset, and they were just going, "Well, Argentina, can they get one more attack?" And it's like, no, Saudi Arabia is like defending for their lives, clearing everything to
So
the
why
point
do
where,
you think that is? Because
yeah,
I get the same sense in Turkey too, and I had to go this route first thing in the freaking morning. I really feel religion plays a huge part in this, because and I know it. If this was an Iceland win or something like that, the entire narrative would be like, it's an island of so many people. This guy used to be a fisherman, blah blah blah. Like all these like side stories they would pull out for the upsets. Or if it was like any other country, but I feel like when it's like Turkey or Saudi Arabia, like from that neck of the woods, it's always more about the side that lost, what a disappointment, blah blah blah. And then like on the way out, oh yeah, I guess we should give credit to those guys too, and exit scene kind of a thing. Is that what it is, you think? Or they're more biased to be excited about some smaller teams and not all of them?
I I hope it's not something that just blatantly racist, so to speak. There has to be some sort of bias there, because you kind of just, yeah, you look at the country and you don't look at the players. And this was the same thing with the Iranians yesterday. It was all of the talk going into it was all of this. Oh, just look at all these things that the people of the country do. I'm like, the captain like denounced it at a press conference, and none of the players sang for the national anthem, and they were like staying with their citizens, but they're like, "Oh, Iran, what a bunch of bums! This fucking country stinks." And nothing was coming out about like just the things that they were doing to try to like be in solidarity with their people. So yes, the governments can be just huge pieces of shit, but you can still have that moment where you can talk about the players, and you can have that just a little bit of objectivity about what is going on the field. Because I guess we're skipping the FIFA directive of just talking about the soccer. That's, well, we're going to focus on the games and all this, that, and the other thing. And this is not me trying to like minimize the impacts of all of these horrendous things going on over there and everything that is surrounded this tournament. But there's plenty of shit to talk about what's going on the field. Save the commentary for like the studio shows or these things. It's stupid.
I feel two-faced to kind of say in one breath, just go with this. Look at this World Cup, soccer, nations uniting, everybody comes together. It's a sport that unites and stuff. And then, during the game, except these jerks, and then like just like rail. I feel like they kind of like pick and choose. Like I say, today, if it was Japan doing the upsets, it'd be a whole different narrative as opposed to Saudi Arabia doing the upset. Like I said, I didn't even watch the game nor the broadcast, but based on what you're saying, it's the usual procedure. But that definitely makes that group a lot more interesting. And the game that's coming up next at 10 a.m. my time, Mexico, Poland, was already a good game. Now becomes even more important, and almost, because in two ways. One, it's almost could be pretty much for winning the group. and two, now like if you were playing Argentina last, you're not going to get Argentina kind of relaxed, already won the group,
Yeah.
chilling mode,
You're
but
getting
you're
a
gonna
pissed
get
off
Argentina
Argentina.
who
Yeah.
has to freaking win. So I think it makes it very important. Like it makes the game even more important. So that should be fun to watch. Denmark, Tunisia is playing right now, still 0-0 in the 52nd minute. So I don't know how much you're losing out on that. Let's take a look at yesterday real quick. Let's start with your boys. You have to be pleasantly surprised, right? After all the doom and gloom you guys put on this USA team.
That game was so frustrating. It was
Never happy, Trevor. Never happy.
no, because it was one of those things where, and this is Berhalter in a nutshell, where you get you get a goal, and then all right, you don't expect them to like close up shop, but when you're making substitutions and you're bringing guys on to like do a job, and they don't really fit the way that you set up on the field, do just a little bit of adaptation never hurt anybody. And but Berhalter is just one of these guys where he has all of these options that fit what he wants to do. And I think he just goes against it sometimes just to go like, ha, you guys didn't think I was going to do that. Even when it is yeah, that would be like a thing where you're like starting a fight with somebody and then you just like shit your pants and you go, ha, you didn't know I was going to do that. Huh? Well, you shit your pants. It's not like you're winning. It's so stupid.
I mean,
But
it did look like, honestly, I was talking about this yesterday. I was talking about like about my brother. Like, so as like a neutral fan, it was probably one of the best, so far the best game of the World Cup because it was so open. It was, I mean, US play. I don't know. This is the American, how the Americans will approach soccer moving forward, but like crazy pace, very reckless. So it can be really good or can be really bad because you lose the ball in like weird places and stuff like that. But it was definitely a fun game to watch and looked like in the beginning. I mean, I think Wales did not expect this from the US themselves. And they did start with the wrong lineup. I think they start with more in the beginning. It's like a whole different game. And they when they made the adjustment at halftime, you could kind of see the game became what you expected it to. And yeah, I guess like you're saying, little adjustment hurt nobody.
yeah, it's almost as if the first half they saw that what they were doing didn't work and then changed it so they could go play better. It's wild. It's crazy.
But Senegal 0, Netherlands 2, and then England 6, Iran 2. That one was kind of like a massacre. What do you make of the Senegal Netherlands game?
That poor Senegal. They really showed how much they rely on Sadio Mane
Yeah.
in that game because they got tons of chances. They really made the keeper Nobert, I think is his name, the keeper for
Yes.
the Netherlands. Really made him work on a lot of occasions, but there was just no quality up there. The guy Dia was just free on so many occasions, and yeah, Verge didn't look great in a lot of spots in that, but the goalkeeper just bailed them out a bunch of times. And there was a lot of efforts that I think if there was a more capable goal scorer on the end of it, they would have got at least one. But there's such a talent gap between Mane and anybody else that they're going to put up top for that Senegalese team that they're going to struggle if they
And
can't.
that's a shame, right? Like it felt
Yeah,
like, man, if Mane was out there right now, this could be a whole different game. And they could have really given them more troubles and definitely got at least a goal out of it. And really, if they get a goal out of it, the game totally changes because Netherlands was not getting one anytime soon either. It felt like, and obviously they get the second one in like the very last seconds of the game.
yeah.
So, but having seen that now in that group, so two groups now, we've seen all the teams. Has any of your predictions, wild guesses going into it changed at all after what you've seen?
Well, I know I cursed Argentina, so I at least kept that one in in the play. But yeah, it's I didn't really see anything really out of place with either group. We all knew Ecuador was going to handle Qatar. There is people want to like give Iran crap for how bad they got beat. Qatar is by far the worst team in this tournament, and it's not even close.
Oh, I think so. Because you saw some attacking afterwards from Iran, and you felt like they almost kind of like took this
England
as a
just played a
loss.
perfect game. That's all. There's some times where just everything you hit, like Grealish came on and just it looked like he was just fucking about and he scored.
Yes.
And you're like, there's some times where you just everything works, and you know what? You got to kind of just tip your cap sometimes and go, all right, there's no way they're going to put a game that complete together again. So we just kind of like have to take our lumps and move on. I don't think England will be able to kind of have that same type of force against Wales. With, like you said, as open as the U.S. played, I think that game is going to be potentially messy.
You think they'll play the same way against, or is it like, or are they going to be like Leeds? Like, this is how we
do
play.
anything different. I don't
Really?
think Berhalter.
Because
Yeah,
there were a lot of times where you were like, man, a good team can really punish you here with, you know, the way you're playing, some of the like odd misplaced passes in very bad spots, and like almost countering or attacking recklessly where everybody's leaving all kinds of space behind them. There is no communication to fill that space. But initially, when Wales in the first half, they could never get that ball out and start a counter because they really did not have a target. Whereas in the second half, when they did have that target, the game totally changed because those spaces were there, but they were just clearing it away. So US was coming back with it. Whereas, like I say, they do attack recklessly, and if they do the same thing as England, you can see like Sterling just like freaking jogging back and forth in those lanes and like making things happen. So. And you have like a great passer like Kane in the middle. So yeah, it could be that could get ugly. And that's going to be an important game now with the Wales. Because if Wales beat Iran, I don't know, like 2-0, 3-0 or something like that, it's all going to come down to
play earlier in the day. Are they the early games? Yeah, they're the 5 a.m. games. So we will know what Wales and Iran did before playing the late game.
So I think that's kind of like an advantage in some ways. But the biggest thing I think is when it comes about, you know, if Wales, let's say, beats Iran 2-0 or something like that, even if they don't like demolish them and they just beat them like they beat them. And then, you know, England, USA, I feel like USA is not the kind of a team that wants to go in the last game against Iran and say, oh, we got to get like 4. You know, we need 4 goals or something like that. Because if they start like that, you can see. I mean, Iran is a team that can counter, and they could even counter against England. So you know they can counter against the US and stuff. So, but that's going to be like interesting group. I mean, Group A. Going back to that, let me ask you this: after seeing the first games, do you go with Ecuador, who we don't even know? We don't know if Qatar made them look really good or if they are that good. Or do you go with Senegal, who was able, like I say, a good striker away from probably getting definitely something out of that game, if not beating Netherlands?
Yeah, I do think Ecuador was hard done by their lack of finishing in their own right. And if Valencia is not fully healthy for the next 2 group games, they're going to be in big trouble as well. Because I think it's the same thing for them. They have one guy who can put the ball in the back of the net, and if he's not there, they're just playing for 0-0. I don't know. If Senegal can kind of show something against either Qatar or Ecuador, that'd be great for them. But I just, as much as you want to put it on the Netherlands having a good goalkeeper, I really think that Senegal's problems getting the ball in the back of the net. If Ecuador just go and close up shop and get a point against either team, I think they'll go through.
Yeah, I mean, they basically did the tough part. Now they can kind of like deal with the draw. And like I say, if Valencia is healthy, he has that speed on the counter that he can make something happen. And he can, I mean, I'm very familiar with him from Fenerbahce, obviously. I mean, he's the guy that can create something out of nothing sometimes, where you feel like, he'll win he'll get the clearance, he'll be at midfield, but then he can take two people on with his speed and stuff like that and make something happen. Sometimes he does some crazy things, but usually like a really solid player. I mean, his second goal, the header, was just a beauty in that Qatar game, which Ellen was talking about. Qatar announcing attendance figures higher than the actual capacity of the stadium twice, which I don't know. I mean, God knows who's doing the math over there, but I was really shocked that people left the game. I mean, maybe we shouldn't be shocked, such a soccer culture in that country, that people left the game at halftime when they were down by 2 to freaking Ecuador. Like, the stadium was half empty afterwards.
If that's not another sign that this was given to the wrong nation, I was watching a video too that was hilarious. That there's Qatari officials that were going that, and the way I was describing it to somebody that was doing a similar thing, what I'm doing right now, rambling on about the description of the video, it was kind of like Joe Bluth from Arrested Development of, I've made a terrible mistake, and just listing all this laundry list of things like, we spent $200 billion. We have all of these people looking at us and saying the way we run a country is bad. Look at all the people that all of our warts are coming into the light, and our team stinks and nobody likes us. Why did we do this? It's chef's kiss from my end. It's something where you go, all right, you made your bed, have a good nap, because you're not getting through. You're people that are there to like root you on, support you, are leaving to beat the non-existent traffic 40 minutes into the game. And of course, Fox, being the classy people that they are, were doing the panning crowd shots each time there was a mass exodus, and going, man, you must really not want to get out of that country alive, cameraman, because you are really painting them in a horrible way.
Look, just like, I mean, I thought it was like shocking that, especially against Ecuador, like, it wasn't even like, we're never coming back from this. I mean, obviously the play on the field showed, but you never know, like halftime adjustments, blah, blah. Like, I can understand people bailing at the 60th minute and be like, man, it's the same shit as the first IF or something. But yeah, I was shocked to see them just like bail. A lot of people too. Like, there was like a ton of seats suddenly.
There was one section that was completely empty.
And I think, like I say, I mean, you see these ads for like, come to Qatar, do business, blah, blah, blah. But I think at the end of the day, this was just like an ego boosting. They just did it. It's kind of like, when you have the money, you can buy little shiny toys. The shiny toy happened to be the World Cup,
False legitimacy.
Like, yeah, bought a couple of Lego sets, built some stadiums, and then, there you go. I mean, they're just going to be under sand probably in like 5 years from now. Because, I mean, you would think even if they try to host like, some international tournaments or something like that. I mean, how many of them, you built all these stadiums, how many of them can you host? It's kind of like it's a weird ordeal, but I'm sure more comedy will come as we go. So Mexico, Poland later today, and France, Australia. Denmark, Tunisia is still 0-0 in the 65th minute. Let's get some predictions from you. Mexico, Poland, France, Australia.
Just for the entertainment factor of this group, I kind of want a 1-1 from Mexico and Poland, just to kind of give Argentina that chance to really come pissed off in the next games. Whereas if one of these two teams goes and wins outright and wins 3-1, maybe that puts a lot of pressure on Argentina that they may not be able to come good on. Whereas a draw kind of breathes a little bit of life into that group, and I kind of just don't want that to be just a throwaway group.
So do you think though, like, now do Mexico and Poland play even more of a cagey game because they're like, let's not freaking lose this, let's get at least a point out of this? Or do they say, dude, doesn't look like Saudi Arabia is a guaranteed 3 points, we got to go out there and win this one because Argentina is going to come back with a vengeance.
Yeah, I really think that it should be the latter. You should be really not trying to play this as you need a point, you need three, because Saudi Arabia is throwing a huge wrench into what everybody thought the proceedings were going to be, and the way they were defending against Argentina. I don't know too much about like Poland's system, but for Mexico, that's going to be a nightmare as well. Playing a high line with an offside trap with really disciplined fullbacks is something that Mexico is going to be absolutely pulling their hair out of, because those guys just. You think anybody that watched that game this morning thought Argentina was caught offside a lot? If Mexico plays the same way, they're going to get caught offside like 25 times. And it's going to be brutal.
Man, it's almost like makes me want to get up at 4 a.m. to watch these games. Not really. I'd rather listen to it from. Will you be up for the Morocco-Croatia game tomorrow morning?
Well, probably.
Damn, man. I yeah, there's no way that's happening. Sorry. I mean, if anything, I would have gotten for the game today. Definitely not for Morocco-Croatia. Yeah. France, Australia. Is that going to be a bloodbath?
I think that's. I don't think the Aussies are going to have much of a puncher's chance, even with no Benzema for France. I think it's going to kind of be one-way traffic. I don't think it's going to be 6 goals bad, but it could be 4. It could be 4-0.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm going to be conservative and say 3, but it could be 4.
So, and then I mean, obviously, we're not going to do anything before that. Morocco, Croatia. You'll be up at 5 a.m. What do you expect to watch? Because that's an interesting game.
I expect to fall back asleep because we're going to have kind of similar to what we're getting from Denmark and Tunisia right now. I don't expect a very high octane game from those two teams.
Yeah, that's another game where, everybody wants their. See, that's why I think the Argentina-Saudi Arabia game being earlier makes the Mexico-Poland game more interesting, because if France-Australia was earlier, I think the other one would be too. I think Denmark-Tunisia, both sides are like, let's not freaking lose this. We don't have to win this. Let's just not, because it feels like when you lose this, you're done. You're out. In that game, the way especially the first one panned out. So I think, and that, like you got to look at the France-Australia. If France beats, and now you have 0 points, even if you beat Australia kind of thing, Denmark is going to play Australia. So nobody wants to lose. At least they want to go with a point. But Morocco-Croatia wins that one, you think? Or we just see a KG 0-0 like you think?
I don't think it's got more than a goal in it. If a goal comes in that game, it will be Croatia's.
Yeah, that should be. Yeah, that one will be up for. And then while we're on live tomorrow, Germany will be taking on Japan. Is Taki gonna be in action? He's fit, right?
I think he starts for them. So that's.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he's fit, he should be out there. I know he's like a regular starter, so that should be interesting to watch Taki in action against Germany there, and then Spain, Costa Rica tomorrow as well. And the last game is Belgium, Canada, which I'm not that familiar with Canada, so that'll be interesting to watch them in that sense. And I want to see how Spain is really, because there's a lot of talents, but Spain as a national team usually kind of underwhelm. Alan says, I love it if Japan beat Germany. I don't know. I don't see it personally.
My bracket has already taken enough of a beating, Alan. Let me have something.
What do you? Yeah, so far, I mean, you would think in your obviously, I would think most people got the Argentina game wrong, but you probably picked Wales. Is that why your bracket is downhill?
Yeah, just. I'm also a pessimist, and once I lose one thing, I suddenly go into panic mode, and I can't. Like Argentina, oh my God, they're going to lose the next 2 games. Now they lost to Saudi Arabia. Everything, the sky's falling.
Yeah, because I had him going to the final, I think, in my brackets. I have to go back and look.
Yeah, I do.
Not the one that we started afterwards, but the one I originally did at Eurosport or whatever. I had them going to the final with France and losing to France in the final. But that was before Benzema was out as well, because that's a huge blow for them. I mean, when Nkunku went out, I was like, well, that's fine. They still got Mbappe and Benzema up there. but now it's like, I don't know, like who replaces him? Ben Yedder or like Griezmann?
Yeah, I think it's got to be Griezmann just because he has that experience. But I don't know if they're going to kind of change formation to kind of work him in more organically. And it definitely, when you take Griezmann off the bench, it kind of very much weakens that bench.
And this
I'm
changes
trying
all
to.
kinds of brackets too, because if
Oh yeah, so Benzema didn't even get replaced on the roster.
no,
So
nobody, they didn't replace him like with a player, but I don't know if like how it works in terms of now that Argentina lost, a lot of the brackets you kind of like had Argentina and Brazil winning, and therefore the matchups going accordingly. Now that can kind of go all over the place because Argentina could possibly go as a second one. Ellen says, who will be the top scorer in this World Cup? Your guess is as good as mine. What is your guess? I will just go with default Mbappe at this point. But I just because he's the only guy left there in France, and I just don't want to say fucking Neymar. So there you go.
I'm going doubling down on Serbia. I'm going to say it's Vlahovic. That
Jeez, man, you
they're going
and
to go. They're going to
Serbia.
go to the semifinals, and then he's going to get knocked out, and then
Yeah, I would not be shocked if those cans are gone tomorrow with like a Serbia flag or some shit like that instead. You never go. Somebody is putting their private photo over here. So I guess,
yeah,
there we go. See,
content
we made it,
moderation at its
Trevor,
finest.
when people are posting their triple X accounts and their photos. We made it, people. We have made it.
Yeah,
So,
bot
well, that's a good
farms.
way to close the show so we can go check out these private photos. Make sure you guys
Yeah.
click on anything that's posted there. So, yeah, I got to wrap it up because I can't click on it while we're on live. So, we'll go check out those photos. And then, if we don't have enough spamware and viruses, hopefully we'll be
Yeah, my
back tomorrow
computer is not
morning.
compromised.
Same time with a couple of viruses dancing in the background right here in the morning show. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. See you guys tomorrow. Alan wants this private photo. I don't know. Just go click on the link, Alan, and everything should be fine, I would assume.
Yeah.
Have a great day, guys. Take care.